Now we're going to take a look at using absolute cell references. And this is a little more advanced, a little more abstract maybe than, what we've been doing so far in Excel. Mostly we've been just looking at totals. So with absolute cell referencing, that happens when you want to go back to the same cell over and over. I talked about relative cell addressing, and so we know that that means if I'm in row F and I do a sum of, um, if I'm in column F and I do a sum of B5 through to E5, okay, then I go from column F, within column F, I go to row 6 and I'm looking at B6 through to E6. I know that I can copy that formula into the next row and it's going to automatically update it based on the relative cell addressing. But that's not always the case. We don't always want to do that. Sometimes we want to redirect Excel back to the same cell every time. So in this case, I want to figure out some possible increases in expenses, and I'm going to set it at 5%. So I've kind of created a little scenario over here. Okay, so I'm going to start my formula, all right, and I'm going to start with an equal sign. Now, if I wanted to figure out an increase of 5%, one thing I could do, I could just click on that cell. I could say times, and I could say 1.05. Hit enter, and that gives me the right answer. Okay. The only thing is that's not very efficient because I should be trying to use cell references. Because maybe I want to take a look at this formula with 1.05, but then I might want to look at it with 3%. So I have to go back into the formula and update it with 1.03 or 2%, whatever the case might be. So I should always try to use cell references rather than actual numbers. So kind of keep that in mind. That's kind of a principal rule when working in Excel. So I'm going to delete that formula and I'm going to start again. So I'm going to say equals. I'm going to click on F5. Then I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to click on F5 again. I need F5 again in my formula. And then I'm going to say multiplied by the 5%. Okay. Now, if you're someone that's visual, I'm kind of a visual person. I like to use the brackets. I actually don't think I need them here, but I'm going to use the brackets just so I can have it kind of neat and tidy in my own mind. So I'm saying F5 and I'm using that times 1.05. That's really what I'm doing here. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so we got the same answer. We know that this is correct. So now I'm going to try to copy and paste. So I'm going to drag this down and see what happens. All right, what's wrong here? Well, in H6, I'm getting the same answer, the total, like nothing changed here. Why is that? Let's go and look at our formula. So, so we know that, I'll click up here, F6, okay, that was right, plus F6, that copied fine. But what happened is instead of going back to I4, which is what I actually wanted, it went down to I5. So now I'm just saying F6 plus nothing, okay? So that's why the total didn't change. So I need to go in and fix that formula so that I redirect it and make it absolute. I'm going to go back up here. Sorry, I'll just come out of here. I'm going to delete this formula. Okay. I'm going to go back into the original and I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the letter and I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the number. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, again, it didn't really change anything. Okay. The first answer was correct. It just wasn't set up in a way that I could use it going forward. Now I'm going to use my fill handle and I'm going to see what happens. Okay, so if you remember the last time, this didn't change. Okay, now if I click on it, it's redirecting up to I4. Okay, so that's exactly what we want. Now, you might think, okay, well, that's fine. It works fine with the numbers. Why is it such a big deal? Well, let's say I'm in a staff meeting and we're looking at possible increases in expenses, and I have to keep going back in and manually fixing it up every time. Now I can go 3%. Okay, notice that it automatically updated. I can say maybe we're looking at 6% updates. Update it again. All right, so that makes a big difference, and it makes my life a whole lot easier if I'm the one that's in control of the spreadsheet. And it allows my employers or my partners, whatever the case might be, to see at a glance where things are really going. So that's why it's important to use absolute cell references. And that's why it's important to use cell references whenever possible. Really try not to use actual numbers within your formulas, unless they're like standard numbers, like 12 for 12 months of the year when you're figuring out an interest payment or something like that. Okay, and that is using absolute cell references.